So yesterday I was on the road to Kingston to take in the game three of the series between the Barrie Colts and the Kingston Frontenac. So I wasn't able to update in regards to a few news items that have come about. So let's catch up on things. Starting off with the final NHL Central Scouting list, and it's got some interesting names near the top as the Ontario Hockey League well represented ahead of the 2025 NHL entry draft. So let's dive in. Some of the players that have been listed in the projected first round. We'll just stick with that because I'm not going to go through the whole list because that could take this a little longer than we need to here on the channel. But no surprise, seeing two OHLers at the top. Michael Misa and Matthew Schaefer are 2 and 1. And I almost wonder, depending on who wins the NHL draft lottery, will dictate who will be the first overall pick, because it seems as though Matthew Schaefer, the Erie Otters, despite missing significant amount of time this year due to mono and also the shoulder injury that he suffered at the World Juniors, he still sits number one. And I remember when the Erie Otters were in Barrie back in October, that was his first game back from mono, and he was a difference maker in that game. You wouldn't have suspected that he missed time due to the illness. So Matthew Schaefer continues to represent the OHL at the top of the list. Michael Misa, of course, was granted exceptional status with the Saginaw Spirit and just set franchise records this season when it comes to scoring. So two very well-deserving players at the top of the list. But the third one surprises me a little bit because all season long, we've been talking about Porter Martone as one of the top three coming from the OHL. But Jake O'Brien of the Brantford Bulldogs now ranked fourth on the NHL Central Scouting list. And for O'Brien, had a fantastic rookie season last year, and he's continued it this season with the Bulldogs, who are right now in the second round against the Oshawa Generals. So Jake O'Brien passing Porter Martone, who fell to sixth, and I'm a little surprised by that, as I was having a discussion yesterday about Martone, Schaefer, and Misa, and how each three brings something different to the table. And I was saying that Martone, I wouldn't be surprised, would be a top five pick because of his grit and style. He kind of reminds me of a Matthew Tkachuk type. And of course, Tkachuk with the Florida Panthers winning a Stanley Cup. So Martone dropping to sixth, a little surprising, but that's where NHL Central Scouting has him at the final ranking. Kayshawn Aitchison of the Barrie Colts, he has been making strides. He is now ninth on the NHL Central Scouting ranking. And for Kayshawn Aitchison, I think he has to be the best open ice hitter in the OHL, and he's always got a smile on his face, no matter the situation. I know that frustrates opponents, but I think NHL scouts and GMs have been very intrigued by Kayshawn Aitchison's play. So he's now in the top 10 for NHL Central Scouting. After that, we've got Brady Martin of the Sioux Greyhounds. He's ranked 11th. We also have Jack Nesbitt of the Windsor Spitfires. He comes in at number 15. Malcolm Spence, he's dropped a little bit here as from the Erie Otters. He's now ranked 17th on NHL Central Scouting. Henry Brustevich of the London Knights, he is at 19th. Then we have Cameron Reed of the Kitchener Rangers. I thought he would be a little bit higher. He's just got such great skating abilities and great hockey sense. But he comes in at number 23. And that rounds up actually the first round, the projected first round picks coming from the Ontario Hockey League. So I believe that's 10 players from the OHL that could go in the first round. And we could see picks 1, 2, and maybe 3 at the NHL draft in June being first overall picks, or first round picks from the OHL. So, and it's a very exciting season, and we've been seeing it on the ice, just the competitiveness out on the ice day in and day out. And it's going to be a lot of fun if you're a junior hockey fan. And let me know in the comments which player from the OHL do you think gets selected first? Do you think it's going to be Schaefer, Misa, or one of the other players listed by NHL Central Scouting? Now, they also released a list for goaltenders, and no surprise, Jack Ivankovic of the Brampton Steelheads leads the way from the Ontario Hockey League. He's actually fourth on NHL Central Scouting's list from when it comes to goaltenders. So Ivankovic, he carried the load for the Brampton Steelheads, suffered an injury in round one against the Oshawa Generals, which was really tough to see. But still, Ivankovic, he's being expected to go pretty early in the draft. I don't know if it'll be first round because we don't typically see goaltenders in the first. He might be maybe a second or a third round pick at the NHL draft, but we'll have to wait and see. Also, we have two goaltenders from the Owen Sound Attack who've made this list. First, it's Matthew Kaprowski. He's ninth in goaltenders. And then you have Trenton Bennett of the Owen Sound Attack listed at number 17. And the Owen Sound Attack have been a bit of a goalie farm, so to speak. And of course, they have Carter George, who was drafted last season by the Los Angeles Kings. And then after him, you've got Kaprowski and Bennett, who could both be drafted into the National Hockey League. So some big questions for Owen Sound going into next season. You have three solid goaltenders. Do you move on from one of them? And which one do you move on from? So tough questions there, but still exciting times if you're an Owen Sound Attack fan, seeing both Kaprowski and Bennett being mentioned in NHL Central Scouting. And Ben Hrebeck, he has been such a great story this year from the Barrie Colts. At the start of this season, Barrie was asking, the big question was, who would be the backup to Sam Hillebrand? And Ben Hrebeck, he dominated when he was called upon, had one of the best save percentages in the regular season. And even last night against Kingston, he appeared in game number 3. He was outstanding, keeping the Colts in that one. However, of course, Barrie would end up losing that one by a score of 5-3. But we've got some great goaltenders here on the list coming from the Ontario Hockey League. So Ivan Kovic, Kaprowski, Bennett, and Hrebeck. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shapes up. Now, some big news being reported by InSaga. And last year I did the OHL expansion or relocation candidates video, and I talked about how there's discussions about potentially the Oshawa Generals leaving Oshawa for Pickering. And that story has kind of gone a little quiet up until now. InSaga is reporting that there was an in-camera session held by City Council on Friday, and the Oshawa Generals were the subject of discussion. Now, the members of council, the mayor of Oshawa, they are not on record saying anything about that meeting. And of course, Rocco Tullio and the Oshawa Generals also not saying anything about the meeting. But it does sound like Tullio still focused on Pickering as a potential site going forward if the city does not, work on the arena with the upgrades that the Generals would like to have seen done. 2 years ago, it was said that they wanted more office space. They wanted more gym space for the players and several other upgrades. When I was in Oshawa in the playoffs last year, there was fans who were telling me that a sticking point was the Oshawa Sports Hall of Fame and how the Generals apparently wanted it moved out or moved somewhere else. But right now, the way things look, Tullio has still got Pickering on the table as a relocation option if the city doesn't agree with the upgrades that they want to see done. To me, seeing the Oshawa Generals leave Oshawa would be a shock just because of the history. Remember, the Generals, they have won 5 Memorial Cups, which is the most in Canadian Hockey League history. So that's a lot of history you would be taking out of Oshawa unless you keep the Oshawa Generals name playing out of Pickering. So, of course, Pickering just down the 401 from the city of Oshawa. But it's such a strange situation. In the article, it talks about how there was an architect brought into that in-person meeting or in-camera meeting rather, and maybe we'll see an addition of seating to expand the attendance capacities of the Tributes Community Center. So definitely something to follow along here. The lease agreement expires in 2031, so there is still time to iron things out. But Rocco Tullio in the past has said that he wants a confirmation that upgrades are going to happen before they sign a lease extension. But if they don't hear by a certain date, they want to then focus on Pickering, as the plan is to build an arena at the casino grounds just off the 401. There's a developer that wants to build a 5,000-seat facility, which would house a hockey team and then also be used for concerts and other events. But right now, this is the latest. And I think it's a good sign, though, that both council and the Generals not saying anything on record about this meeting or in general about this potential relocation. Because if we start hearing official comments about these meetings, that means things have probably gone sideways and things aren't looking too good. So I would take out of this that as long as we're not hearing statements from the Oshawa Generals or the city about how these meetings are going, you have to assume this is a positive and that they are working together, and that maybe we will see these arena upgrades that the Oshawa Generals are looking for, and then the Generals would end up staying in Oshawa, because it would be so strange if the Generals ended up moving to Pickering. And that's the thing. If you move to Pickering, do you keep the Oshawa Generals name, or is it a Pickering hockey team? And if they rename it Pickering something, then you would have to think that maybe the OHL would want to go into Oshawa with a new team because that's such a classic market. And the Tributes Community Center is a beautiful facility. The fan support there is outstanding. It's definitely one of the venues if you're a junior hockey fan and you haven't been to yet. It is definitely worth the trip. So we'll keep an eye on this situation as it continues to develop. Now, speaking of organizations, I've now heard from a few people that there could be an ownership change with the Sarnia Sting. There's nothing been made official yet, but usually where there's smoke, there's fire. Uh, for the Sarnia Sting, they were purchased by Darian Hatcher and David Legwong back in 2015. I thought it was a lot earlier, not as long as 2015. It's been 10 years since the Sarnia Sting were sold, but it sounds like there could be an ownership change announced during the offseason, but nothing official as of yet. But I just wanted to pass that on here because I'm starting to read a few comments online, and then I had a couple of people now reach out, and people I've talked to in arenas that there's something potentially brewing with the Sarnia Sting team. Not confident on the details, but just wanted to share that much about the Sarnia Sting if you're a fan of Sarnia. And finally, it was announced yesterday that Larry Mellotte, the play-by-play voice of the Guelph Storm on the radio, is retiring. So big congratulations to Larry Mellotte. He has been the voice of the Storm, or actually just the city of Guelph, for the last 30 plus years. He does an amazing job, and over the 2 years of doing this channel, I have not yet been able to get Larry on here for an interview. So maybe we'll get Larry on to talk a bit about his career because he covered the Guelph Storm, the Guelph Platers, and just all things Guelph. He's one of the classic legends of broadcasting when it comes to the Ontario Hockey League, and it's a bit of a changing of the guard, so to speak. But it's always great to catch up to the veteran radio guys or TV guys because the stories they have and that they share are always fascinating, and you learn a lot from these if you're a broadcaster coming through the ranks. And Larry, one of the classic guys. I've only been able to chat with him a couple of times because, of course, the Guelph Storm being in the opposite conference, we don't see them all that often. It's just once a season that the Storm come to the Sadlin Arena. But still, big congratulations to Larry Mellotte, who had an outstanding career. And, he had a few Memorial Cup appearances there as this Guelph Storm team has been one of the more successful organizations over the last 30 years or so. So I just wanted to pass on that, one of the good guys of the OHL retiring. And we'll see who's brought in next. Those are big shoes to fill with the Guelph Storm broadcast, but still, congratulations to Larry Mellotte. So that's how I see it from the booth. Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on any of these news items. I know there's a couple of big ones in here, but still, it's great to see the interactions. It was great to say hi to some subscribers yesterday in Kingston. I didn't realize there was such a following from Kingston here on the channel, but super encouraging. I love the support. I know we just passed 800 subscribers recently, so it's been a lot of fun. Can't wait to continue this. And hit like and subscribe. Talk to you again soon.